Dear students, welcome back. In this session, we will learn about the reproduction and life cycle in UNIU. I am Dr. Lata, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology, Maharani Science College for Women, Bengaluru. Now in UNIU, we know that it is dioecious. That means male and female are separate, but there is no sexual dimorphism. That means by looking at them, you cannot tell whether it is a male unio or a female unio, but they are different. Now let us see what kind of gonads or the reproductive structures they possess. So in case of male, the gonads are testes, and in case of female, there are ovaries. Now these gonads, whether it is testes or ovaries, they are paired, they are large and highly branched structures lying in and around the intestinal coils. We know that the intestine, if you go back and remember the digestive system that we studied, we said the intestine coils in the visceral mass, and surrounding that intestine you find the gonads. So they are present around the intestinal coils. Now during breeding period, they become greatly enlarged and conspicuous, and testes will become brightly whitish in color, whereas ovaries will become reddish in color. So when you dissect an unio during the breeding season, if you find whitish mass around the intestine, you can say that it is a male. If you find a slightly reddish kind of mass around the intestine, you can tell that it is a female unio. Now, in case of male, you find the formation of spermatozoans, which in turn form sperms, and in case of female, it is the eggs which form the ova. So each gonad, it has got a short duct and vast difference in case of male and oviduct in case of female, and both will open into the suprabranchial chamber of the mantle cavity near the excretory port. So suprabranchial means the chamber which is above the gills. So there you find this, as we have learnt in respiratory system, you notice that suprabranchial chamber, the space above the gills, right? So there you find these gonads being released. And apart from this, you don't find any kind of accessory reproductive structures in unio. So all that it has is, in case of males, testes, vast difference, and in case of male it is testis and vast difference. In case of female, they are ovaries and oviduct. Let us understand about the process of fertilization. Now in case of male, the sperms pass out. In case of males, the sperms pass out through the exhalent siphon, and they are carried to the surrounding water, from where they enter the inhalent siphon of a female and reach its tenidia. Now, in case of female, the eggs that are released, they are placed in the suprabranchial chamber of the mantle cavity, and they are carried into the water tubes of tenidia. So when the sperm enters this female through the inhalent siphon, then it is in this water tubes that the fertilization takes place and the process of early development occur. So you should remember, the process of fertilization occurs in the water tubes of tenidia. And then once the eggs get fertilized, they develop in this outer gill plates, and because of that, the gills become little enlarged to form the brood pouch, or it is called as marsupium. So these two terms you should remember, that fertilization occurs in water tubes and the early development takes place in the brood pouch or the marsupium. Next, coming to the process of development. Now, in case of UNIO, for example, generally speaking, development is of two types. One is direct development, where you do not come across any kind of larval forms, and indirect development, where there will be an intermediate larval form and that in turn metamorphose into an adult. So here UNIO shows indirect development, and in most of the mollusks, you come across a free swimming trophophore larva which gets succeeded by Veliger stage, and then it metamorphoses into an adult, and this is found in most of the marine forms. Whereas in case of UNIO, here the Veliger stage is formed in the marsupium or the Ctenidia, and this Veliger, it becomes highly modified into a specialized larva known as Glochidium larva. So this Glochidium larva is a characteristic larval form of UNIO. Now let us understand how this Glochidium larva is formed. Now during early development, what happens once the zygote is formed by the fusion of gametes, then it has to undergo the division process, and this division of zygote is what we call it as cleavage. So here cleavage is complete but unequal kind of cleavage, and because of the cleavage it results in the formation of a morula, which is nothing but the ball of blastomeres or a ball of cells that are derived by continuous division of the zygote. And while doing so, it results in two types of cells. One is micromeres, which are smaller in size. The other set are macromeres, which are larger in size. Now once this morula is formed, then that becomes that later get converted into a gastrula, wherein gastrula is a process where the blastomeres, they rearrange themselves by certain kind of morphogenetic movements to result in the formation of a gastrula, wherein it promotes the arrangement of germ layers. So because of this movement of cells, like you say that invaginating means inward movement of cells. So the macromeres, they invaginate into micromeres, and thereby resulting in the formation of a cavity which is called as archenteron. Okay, so here the gastrula will have an micromeres which will form the ectoderm, the macromeres will form the endoderm, and then the blastocele, which is a cavity which is formed, like once the morula is formed, that morula will give rise to blastula, and blastula gets converted into gastrula. So the cavity of the blastula is called as blastocele, and then the cavity of the gastrula is called as archenteron. So as and when the archenteron is formed, the blastocele becomes lesser and lesser as the space is taken by this new cavity, the archenteron. So when all these development process occurs, the zygote is still enclosed in the vitelline membrane, and all these changes occurs. And then some cells of this gastrula gets budded off from the blastocele to form the mesoderm. So these are the three germ layers that are formed. Then what happens? Then certain changes happens in this developing zygote, like a deep invagination occurs to form a shell gland, which is characteristic of mollusks, because we know that all the mollusks have shell. The body of these mollusks are covered by a shell, so for that the shell needs to be secreted, and who secretes the shell? It is by the shell gland. Now the shell gland marks the dorsal surface of the embryo, and the posterior end of the embryo is marked by a tuft of long cilia. Now the shell gland, it secretes an unpaired shell which is soon replaced by a triangular bivalved shell, and these shell valves enclose a larval mantle also. Now these lower parts of the shell valves are curved in the form of a hooks which are beset with spines, because that needs to hold both half of the shells together tightly. Then what happens? Then the embryo, the embryo is cleft in the middle to form a dorsal body and two mantle lobes, and each mantle lobe will have four brush-like sense organs that arise, each having a cluster of bristles. And then the mesoderm forms the large adductor muscle which runs between the two shell valves anteriorly, and on the body of then on the body there comes a byssus gland which is formed and secretes a sticky thread called as byssus thread, and at this stage the embryo, we call this as a glochidium larva. And then till the formation of this byssus, whatever changes happen, any change that happens, it requires some energy, right? So this energy is derived from the yolk that was there in the egg. And then the larva that is formed, that will have no mouth and no anus, and the digestive tract itself is yet to be formed for this larva. So many such glochidia will be formed by a single freshwater mussel. They will be formed in thousands of number. Now let us understand what is the structure of a glochidium. Now this will come as a 5-marker question wherein they'll ask you to describe the structure of glochidium with a neat label diagram. You will write this diagram clearly and label them correctly, and then you will describe its characters. So here glochidium, it is a minute larva. It measures about 0.1 to 4 mm in a size, and it comprises of the shell and the mantle. Shell consists of two triangular valves which are united dorsally and free ventrally. So these are the shell valves, one here and one on here, and they are united on the dorsal side, and on the ventral side they are free. Now this ventral free end of each valve of shell is produced into a curved hook bearing spines. You can observe these hooks here. They are bearing spines like this on either side. Here also you can see. Then the mantle lobes are small and they bear brush-like sensory organs. Here you can see you have tuft of these sensory organs. We said each mantle lobe will have 4 of them, 3 here and 1 here, and these are the bristles. This kind of structure that you see, like your toothbrush bristles, here also they have brush-like sensory organs with bristles. And then the adductor muscle is well developed. See, adductor muscle is single and it is developed here between the valves so that it can control the movement of the shell. And then the closure of this valve is affected by this large adductor muscle, and the byssus gland is situated above the adductor muscle here. This is the byssus gland, and which in turn give rise to this sticky long thread like byssus. So at this stage we call the larva as glochidium larva. So these are the characteristic features of glochidium larva, having 2 triangular valves, a shell, having this hook with spines, having 1 single large adductor muscle, having sensory organs with bristles, and having this provisional sticky byssus. This describes the structure of glochidium larva. Now this glochidium larva, it is nourished in the marsupium, which wherein you find large number of glochidia in the gills, and they develop as an ectoparasitic form. So when they are set free from the ctenidia or the gills, they pass out through the exhalent siphon and they sink and sink down to the bottom, where they get attached to the fishes. If they find a suitable fish, well and fine, they'll survive on it as an ectoparasite, or if they don't find a suitable host, they even may die. So once they get attached to the fishes, they feed by absorbing juices of this fish by the mantle, and then this larval mantle contains phagocytic cells which obtain nourishment from the for the developing host. Thus, it leads an ectoparasitic life for about 10 weeks, during which the process of metamorphosis takes place. Now, so this is how the fish gill appears when it has lots of Golgidia on them. The Golgidium larvae, they are all attached to the gills of the fishes like this. Now this explains you the whole process of what we said so far. The male unio, it releases sperms and the sperm enters into the female unio, where the process of fertilization takes place in the water tube, and the outer gill lamina, it becomes little enlarged because of the developing Glochidia, and that we call it as marsupium or the brood pouch. And from there, once the early development takes place, it gets released through the exhalent siphon and it falls down, and the formation of Glochidia takes place inside the unio, and then it falls down, and this Glochidia goes and attaches to the fish, a suitable host wherein it attaches the gill or the soft tissues of the fish, wherein it starts developing, and that cyst, once the Glochidia attaches to the fishes, the host tissue grows around this Glochidia, forming a cyst, and once the cyst weakens, this Glochidia fall down to the bottom and they mature and become into an adult unio. So during this process of metamorphosis, what happens? What all changes takes place? Now the sense organs, the larval adductor muscle, the larval mantle and the byssus thread which was there in the Glochidia, they disappear and the adult organs begin to form. Now what are the adult organs? Here instead we said in Glochidia there is no gut, there is no mouth, there is no anus, because it leads an ectoparasitic life. It absorbs nutrition from the host. But as an adult it cannot lead an ectoparasitic life. So all these larval characters will get regressed and the adult characters will begin to form. For this, the ectoderm invaginates to form the stomodium, that is the mouth, and proctodium, the anus, which open to the archenteron to form the alimentary canal, and then the foot arises as an elevation behind the mouth. On each side of the foot arise two papillae from which form the gill plates, and then the cyst weakens and the young animal opens and closes its shell valves and extends its foot, so that once it escapes from the cyst, it drops down to the bottom and it becomes free living. Then it assumes the adult form and it leads an adult mode of life, wherein it is no more ectoparasitic, it lives on its own. So then what is the significance of this Glochidium larva? Why in unio you have come across this specialized form of Glochidium? This Glochidium larva, though it lives as an ectoparasite on fishes, it is these larvae that helps in the dispersal of unio to far off places. Otherwise, we learned that these unio is a sluggish form and it is not an actively locomoting form that moves from one place to the other. Though it has foot which helps in locomotion here we said is of little creepy kind. It creeps very slowly. So given that a situation, the unio, if it were not to have this Glochidia, then all unio would have been confined to one part of the world. We wouldn't have seen it all throughout the world. So just because it gets attached to the fishes and fishes move from one place to the other, there wherever the cyst falls off, cyst become weakens and the glochidia falls off, the unio develops there. Hence it helps in dispersal of this unio. This is the major significance of glochidium larva. This can be asked as a 1-mark question, so you should be knowing the significance of glochidium larva is it helps in dispersal of unio. Now these are the books from which the content has been taken, and here are few questions for you to answer. In unio, fertilization occurs in water tubes. I told you it's important and you should remember. And female reproductive system, here it's represented by reddish ovaries, oviduct, whitish testes, both A and B. What is the right answer here? You should not choose ovaries and oviduct because there is also one more option which says both A and B. So your answer should be D, that is both A and B. Then glochidium is characterized by byssus thread, sensory bristles, 2 triangular shell valves, and all the above. The answer is all the above because you see all these 3 characteristic features in glochidium. Metamorphosis in unio is represented by formation of foot, disappearance of byssus, weakening of cyst, all the above because you see all these features during the process of metamorphosis. Then significance of glochidium larva is dispersal of species. Species here refers to unio only. Increases chances of survival, improves mobility, none of the above. It is dispersal of species. So that is the major significance of glochidium. So I hope you all enjoyed learning this process of reproduction and life cycle in unio. And if you have any further queries, you can mail it to me in my email ID vlatadamodaran@gmail.com. And it was nice explaining this to you. I hope you all enjoyed this lecture. Thank you very much.